In this video, I'll demolish 5 destructive songwriting myths. Songwriting is more complicated than most people believe, especially when you're first starting. No matter what your experience level in songwriting, believing any of these myths will make it harder. Hi, I'm Trevor Dimhoff. I transform musicians into songwriters at epicsongwriting.com. Watch the video all the way through and then click the description link for more detail, depth, and songwriting solutions. In this video, I'll talk about 5 songwriting myths. Number 1, songwriting should be easy. Number 2, the myth of instant success. Number 3, work harder. Number 4, the perfect song. And finally, number 5, songwriting is instinctive. Number 1, songwriting should be easy. Don't I wish? Just because pop songs are relatively simple doesn't mean they're easy to write. Simple does not equal easy. Songwriting involves creativity. Creativity is making decisions, choosing. And it's difficult to choose. It takes mental effort. So it's so much easier to just sit on the couch and watch television or flip through YouTube videos. Thanks for stopping on this one. Than to actually get yourself busy and make something creatively, to be creative. Songwriting feels like it should be easy, but it's not. It's complicated. There's many layers and levels, and it's easy to sit and go, yeah, I can imagine that finished song. The tough part is following through and getting through all of the steps, and that's why this is a myth. Songwriting isn't easy. Songwriting takes effort. Number 2, the myth of instant success. There's the stories of instant songs. There's the stories of overnight successes. None of them are the rule. They're all exceptions. First, the instant song. Just because you've heard stories about someone waking up in the middle of the night from a dream and writing out a song full force from beginning to end doesn't mean it's something that happens all the time. These stories sound great in the press, and that's why they get carried. That's why you hear about them. But most songs are actually written in more than one session and with many editing sessions. So you might write something and then edit it and come back and write it and edit some more, rather than sitting from the top and writing straight down to the bottom of a song. It happens, but it's pretty rare. There's more instant success stories. The myth of writing a song and being able to retire. Most of the time that doesn't happen. The idea that you can write a song and it'll become a hit on its own instantly, once again, it's a myth. It's not likely to happen. It's possible, but it's rare. There's also the myth or the stories of the overnight success, where a band or an artist all of a sudden hits the big time. What's not part of that story is all of the work and effort and consistency in coming to the shows and working on their craft and building a network and it's not instant. It's not overnight. It's a slow and long burn that suddenly exploded when a tipping point was reached and they got the exposure that brought them to your attention. So the myth of the instant song or instant success is just going to set you up for failure. Number 3, work harder. So there's this myth, especially in North America, that if you work hard, you'll be successful automatically. It's not that simple. Just think about it for a second. If you work really hard at something, but it's the wrong thing, are you going to be successful? No. It comes from the old Protestant work ethic. And at the time in rural society where you had to work really hard to plant crops, and it made sense back then, not so much in contemporary society. There's too many other variables going on. Instead of thinking about working harder or working harder, think about working smarter, being efficient, being deliberate with the things that you do. Instead of working really hard doing something that's not effective, find the effective stuff. Find the things that really will change, that will really move things forward for you, that will move the needle. Work smart, not hard. Consistency. Consistency is more important than how hard you work. If you work a little bit consistently, it's more effective than working really hard and then burning out. Myth number 4, the perfect song. It's okay to make mistakes. You're not going to write a perfect song because there's no such thing. It just doesn't exist. A perfect is unattainable. So trying to get there is just going to frustrate you. Instead of thinking about writing the perfect song, think about writing the best song that you can right now. Do as much as you can, finish as much as you can, and release it. Do something with it, instead of waiting for perfection. If you were to sit and wait for the perfect inspiration to strike, at the perfect moment, you'd never write anything. I remember at one point I blocked myself up, and I didn't realize it at first, but what I was doing is I'd write a line and say to myself, no, it's not good enough. and cross it out. And I got to the point where I wouldn't even finish it. I wouldn't even write it all down. I got to the point where I wasn't writing anything down because nothing was good enough. Instead, what I started to do when I realized what I was doing was just write and write and write and write, and then go back and edit and find the good stuff. So don't try to write something that's perfect. Just write as good as you can, as well as you can right now. Your songs will develop as you get better, as you develop your songwriting craft. Get feedback, improve your songwriting. Write more songs, get feedback, improve your songwriting. It's a slow, steady build. It's not like all the way to 100% right away. You're not going to get there. You're just going to block yourself up and wind up just tense and angry and not understanding why you can't get anything done. You're not going to attain the unattainable. Songwriting myth number 5. Songwriting is instinctive. Some people call this songwriting from the heart, where it just flows out of you. It's instinctive. You don't have any control over it. I don't believe that, because if it was true, you couldn't learn songwriting. That would mean you're either born with it or you're not. You're a songwriter or you'll never be. I don't believe that. You can learn songwriting. It's a collection of skills. I can teach songwriting. It's what I do. It's one of the things that I do as a teacher. So obviously it's not entirely true. The reason it's a myth is because it's only half the picture. Yes, you can write instinctively. You can write subconsciously where you're not fully conscious of your decisions. If you're writing lyrics, you can come up with choices of words that are instinctive. You don't really think about them. It's subliminal or subconscious. But there's more to it. You can write something and then edit it consciously, being very deliberate about it. You can create, as I do, follow a very deliberate songwriting process where you normally do things in a very particular order, very consciously rather than instinctively. Now you can still have instinctive moments. I bounce back and forth. I'll write instinctively and just generate ideas and then go back and very consciously edit them and choose the best ideas. And then write some more and edit some more and go back and forth. I'll go through many different phases on both sides throughout a songwriting session. It's not just instinctive. It's not just subliminal. There's very conscious things you can do about it. So you can learn songwriting. You can be taught or teach songwriting. It's one of the things that I do. Songwriting skills can be learned. You can improve them. That means it's not instinctive. There's a very deliberate, like all music, there's a very deliberate training involved that will make you better. And these are the 5 destructive songwriting myths that I tore apart in this video. Number 1, songwriting should be easy. It's complicated. Number 2, the myth of instant success. That just comes from all those stories where you don't know all the details and all the work that went into it. Number 3, work harder. Work smarter instead. Number 4, the perfect song. That's a recipe for disaster because there's no such thing as perfect and that goal isn't attainable. Number 5, songwriting is intuitive. If it was, you wouldn't be watching this video because you'd believe that you can't learn or improve your songwriting. Instead, think about it like this. Songwriting is intuitive and it's conscious. There's deliberate and unconscious things happening all the time. And through a session, I'll bounce back and forth constantly. It's not one or the other. It's a whole variety. Thanks for watching all the way through. I'm Trevor Dimhoff. I transform musicians into songwriters at epicsongwriting.com. Click the link in the description for more depth, details, and songwriting solutions. After that, go write something.